The time is 5 o'clock. Good evening. Here is the world news at 5. First, the top stories. Paid counterpart fund blocks Ogun State from accessing 2.8 billion naira UBE fund. House of Rep Speaker advocates shift of 2018 census to after 2019 polls. Ekiti State increases maternity leave of staff on its payroll by 4 weeks. Fund in a treasury single account now over 7 trillion naira. In foreign, leading presidential candidate promises to stop migration to France, and North Korea dares US vows weekly test of nuclear missiles. I am Ololade Sanyaolu, bringing you the news in detail shortly. And now the news in detail. The Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, has reopened after 6 weeks of closure for the rehabilitation of its damaged runway. The airport reopened ahead of official opening to flights on Wednesday. The first plane to land at the rehabilitated airport on Tuesday morning was the Aviation Minister of State, Hadi Sirika, on a test flight from Kaduna International Airport. Later, a new jet of an Ethiopian airline landed at the airport. Kaduna Airport served as an alternative airport since the closure of Abuja Airport for repair of its runway. Ogun State government has failed to access its allocation of 2.8 billion naira in the Universal Basic Education UBEC fund, following its failure to pay the required counterpart funding. UBEC Director General Dr. Hamid Boboy, who made this known at a meeting with a delegation of the Education Correspondent Association of Nigeria in Abuja, also listed Bayelsa, Niger, and Oyo as other states who could not access the same amount in the fund for the same reason. Boboy put the total amount of money in the UBEC fund which state governments could not access at 60 billion naira as of last March 31. Only two states, Borno and Rivers, according to him, had so far accessed their allocation in the UBEC fund this year. He named Ebonyi State, which has about 4 billion naira unaccessed in the UBEC fund, as being the worst, following Enugu and Ondo State, which had 3 billion naira unaccessed in the fund. The UBEC Director General accused some of the state government of diverting some of the fund while some put them in fixed deposits in banks. Ogun State Chief Judge Justice Olatokunbo Olopade has asked magistrates and the state judiciary to always uphold the ethics of the profession in discharging their statutory responsibilities. Olopade made the call while declaring open the 37th conference of the State Chapter of Magistrate Association of Nigeria in Abeokuta, describes the magistrate in the state as the best at the moment. The Chief Judge asked magistrates to cooperate more with the State Judiciary Service Commission in the administration of criminal justice. The association chairman, Mrs. Oriyomi Shofora, appreciated the state judiciary for its efforts towards the magistrate, but asked the Chief Judge to address some of the requests of the magistrates. The requests, according to her, include the provision of new cars for the recently appointed magistrate and the replacement of those who received theirs over 10 years ago. Speaker of the House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara has called for a shift in the proposed national headcount and population census scheduled for 2018. Dogara, in a statement, says conducting the census exercise in the election year will produce unrealistic results. The Speaker advocates that the proposed 2018 census should be conducted after the 2019 polls. He asked those pressurizing the National Population Commission to conduct the exercise in 2018 to wait till after the 2019 polls, when there will be less political pressure to manipulate its results. The Speaker of the House of Reps explains that the suspected politicalization of outcome of census is often a bone of contention between the northern and southern parts of the country. Former Education Minister Malam Ibrahim Shekarau has endorsed the anti-corruption war of the Buhari administration, describing it as positive for Nigeria. Shekarau, speaking to newsmen in Sokoto, says the anti-corruption war is goodwill in all its ramifications. Anybody who obtains money fraudulently according to him, should be arrested, thoroughly investigated, and prosecuted. The former Kano State Governor, however, cautioned the Buhari administration against selective justice in the anti-corruption campaign and strict adherence to the rule of law. Ekiti state government has increased the maternity leave period for female staff on its payroll for 12 weeks to 16 weeks. Permanent Secretary in the State Ministry of Information, Youth and Sports Development, Kola Ajimobi, announced this at a forum in Ado-Ekiti. Female civil servant nursing babies will also get 2 hours of duty daily for a period of 8 months from the date they resumes from maternity leave. The permanent secretary explains that the gesture aims at promoting breastfeeding for 6 months of birth and good nutrition. Funds in the Treasury Single Account (TSA) is now estimated at over 7 trillion naira as at March this year. Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, made this known in an interview with the Economic Confidential. He explains that the presidency is now saving the 4 billion naira being paid monthly by the federal ministries, departments and agencies (MDAs) to banks for keeping their funds before the introduction of TSA. The Accountant General of the Federation, however, says the presidency cannot spend from the fund, which according to him belongs to the MDAs. Idris explains that TSA enabled the presidency to track down the fund which was kept in a special account in the Central Bank of Nigeria, and now it is being spent by the MDAs. For instance, the Accountant General of the Federation cites the case of a university which operates over 120 bank accounts, with some of them hidden or having a huge balance. You are still listening to the World News at 5 on Rock City 101.9 FM. Up next, we bring you foreign, business, and sport news. Please stay with us. And now in foreign, one of the front runners in the French presidential election, far-right leader Marine Le Pen, says she will suspend all legal immigration to France. The National Front leader told a rally that she wanted to stop a mad, uncontrolled situation. After that, she said France will introduce much more drastic, more reasonable, more humane, more manageable rules on immigration. Polls suggest she is neck and neck with centrist Emmanuel Macron ahead of the Sunday's first round of voting. Mr. Macron warned voters that choosing far-left candidate Jean-Luc Mélenchon would be like Cuba without the sun. In all, 11 candidates are competing in the first round. Donald Trump has congratulated Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan on his victory in Sunday's referendum that gave him sweeping news power. The US President's phone call contrasts with European concern that the result, 51.4% in favor of the changes, has exposed a deep split in Turkish society. Mr. Erdogan has rejected criticism from the international managers who said he had been favored by an unequal campaign. The main opposition party is launching an appeal to invalidate the result. German Chancellor Angela Merkel and the European Commission warned that a tight referendum result shows how deeply divided Turkish society is. North Korea says it will continue to test missiles despite international condemnation and growing military tensions with the US. Vice Foreign Minister Hang Son-roy, speaking in Pyongyang, says that North Korea will be conducting more missile tests on a weekly basis, monthly and yearly. He said that an all-out war will result if the US took military action. Earlier, US Vice President Mike Pence warned that North Korea not to test the US, warning that his country's era of strategic patience with North Korea was over. Mr. Pence arrived in Seoul on Sunday, hours after North Korea carried out a failed missile launch. Tensions have been escalating on the peninsula, with heated rhetoric from both North Korea and the US. In business, Presidency says it has spent more than 9.5 billion naira for the distribution of farm inputs to farmers during the dry season as part of moves to increase food production this year. Director of Farm Input Support Service Department of Agriculture and Rural Development Ministry, Mr. Ololade Sanyaolu, who made this known, says the input was distributed to 458,498 farmers in 30 states between last December and February this year. The inputs given to each of the farmers include 2 bags of nitrogen potassium phosphate, 1 bag of organic fertilizer, 25 kilograms of rice seeds, and 20 kilograms of maize seeds. The beneficiary farmers, according to the director, paid 25% of the price of the seeds and 50% of the fertilizer and pesticides supplied to them. And finally, in sports, Super Eagles head coach Gernot Rohr has revealed that Vincent Inyama has problems with the Nigerian Football Federation (NFF). OSA Lily goalkeeper quit the Super Eagles in 2015 after a row with former coach Sunday Olise. Rohr has since stated that the door is open for the keeper, who has over 100 caps for Nigeria, to return to the Super Eagles. The coach, however, says that Super Eagles now have 3 goalkeepers, but will welcome everybody who will respect its work rate, solidarity, and humility. Premier League leaders Chelsea have announced that long-serving captain John Terry is to leave the club at the end of the season. The former England international has spent his entire career to date with the Blues, having first joined the youth rank in 1995. After 22 years of loyal service, which have delivered 713 appearances, including a record 578 as keeper, the 36-year-old will move on once his current contract expires. Terry will depart as a club legend at Stamford Bridge, having lifted 4 Premier League titles, 5 FA Cups, 3 League Cups, the Europa League and the Champions League over the course of a distinguished career. That was the world news at 5, and just before we go, the major stories once again. Unpaid counterpart fund blocks of Ogun State from accessing 2.8 billion naira UBE fund. House of Rep Speaker advocates shift of 2018 census to after 2019 polls. Ekiti State increases maternity leave of staff on its payroll by 4 weeks. Fund in a treasury single account now over 7 trillion naira. On the foreign scene, we told you that leading presidential candidates promised to stop migration to France, and North Korea dared US vows weekly test on nuclear missiles. For more stories and to listen to us live, please log on to our website www.rockcityfmradio.com/live. Thank you for listening. I am Ololade Sanyaolu. Good evening.